Hello, welcome to Thinking Freely. This is Seth Griffin, and we're going to be diving back into the topic of once saved, always saved. And I'll just dive into it. So to make this video a little bit shorter, and guys, I just want to continue to encourage you guys to strive for unity amongst our diversity in views, and to continue pushing to to seek to understand each other and how we see the scriptures and how we interpret the scriptures and our backgrounds and our lives and how we came to these positions, and really try to encourage each other to think about this, because I don't, I'm not trying to change you guys' views, but I do think my view is correct, or I wouldn't be in this view. So I am using some type of persuasion as when I approach these views and these texts. But I do want to encourage you guys to continue to push for unity. That's all I wanted to say, and we'll dive right into it. And we're going to be kind of going over warning passages, but also passages that seem to be very clear on this issue, and if you can lose your salvation or not. And I'll be diving into Colossians 1. And one thing I'll be going over first, the first part of this is just going to be how much times the Bible warns us to continue in the faith. Okay? And to endure to the end, to overcome. And that's what I really want you guys to be noticing. I'm going to start in verse 31 in Colossians 1. And although you were formerly alienated and hostile in mind, so Paul talking to the Corinth church, okay, so he's talking to believers, engaged in evil deeds, yet he has now reconciled you in his fleshly body through death, in order to present you before him holy and blameless and beyond reproach, if indeed you continue in the faith, firmly established and steadfast, and not moved away from the hope of the gospel that you have heard, which was proclaimed in all of creation under heaven, and of which I, Paul, was made a minister. And what I really want you guys to see is Paul addressing them as being, they have now been reconciled. God has reconciled you in his flesh, in Jesus' fleshly body through his death, in order that you would be presented to him holy and blameless and beyond reproach. And that is what we read in Ephesians. That's what we read when it says, and he predestined us to be conformed to the image of his Son, and he chose us in him to be seated in heavenly places and all this stuff, but to be blameless and holy. And that is exactly what it's saying right here. He is pushing to present us holy and blameless on that day. But then there's something that pops up. This is where the condition comes back in. It says if. If is a conditional word. It's just, hey, if you do this, this is going to happen. Hey, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. That's just a conditional word. If indeed you continue in the faith, firmly established and steadfast, and not moved away from the hope. So it seems to almost say, yeah, this is what's happening to you, and this is a beautiful thing. This is the promise that God promises to present you holy and blameless on that day if you believe, and it's a beautiful thing. But guess what? If you don't continue, and these are warning passages, and who, I want to ask this question: who is this warning being given to? Is it being given to non-believers? Is it being given to believers? It seems to be clearly given to believers in this passage. So that's what, it's this passage and all the other passages like this that make me say these passages are just, I've been in churches where all they do is, once you believe, they continue to not warn but they continue to push and just encourage people that they're eternally saved, and there's nothing that they can do to lose it. But then when I read this, it says, if you continue. This is the warning. Continue. Keep going. Push through. Continue in the faith. If indeed you continue in the faith, firmly established and steadfast, not moved away from the hope of the gospel that you have heard. So these people heard the gospel. They have this hope, but then he's encouraging them not to be moved away from this hope. Okay, so that is the warning in this passage. Okay, and there's so many of these warnings in Scripture, and I think we do need to heed them and take them seriously. Okay, and I think the Israelites did not take God's warnings seriously, and because of it, they went through so much turmoil and so much pain and so much misery. And so I think the church today, if they would take God's warning and with seriousness, they would be in less turmoil, less of a bad shape and condition they are in today.